Thank you for joining. Our focus is going to be on the mobile wallet and what we should and could be doing to boost the adoption of this mobile wallet. I want to start by introducing you to my dear friend, Joe Augustinelli. He is responsible for data and insights at Vibrant Credit Union in Moline, Illinois. Joe and I met 3 years ago when Joe spoke at a conference, and Joe's speech was all about how to boost credit card utilization. I interacted with Joe and we spoke about the mobile wallet and the importance of the mobile wallet in today's time where the consumer is wary of touching things. And even from the merchant's perspective, the merchant does not want to handle cash. We spoke. I requested Joe to record his presentation for us. I'm going to turn you over to Joe so he can share more with you. Again, the idea is, how do we get our consumer to adopt mobile? Why should we do it? And what is the long-term impact of what is possible? Joe, it's over to you.
So today we'll be talking about making moves with mobile wallets. Just a little bit of background on this. We came to a point last year, I guess it was 2018. We were coming up at the end of our contract with Visa. We had a great relationship with Visa. They were awesome. I was I was really pushing to stay with them, but we made the decision to switch over to MasterCard, and the reason was several things. The contract was a little more lucrative that we had set up through MasterCard, so there was a little more money involved. But it also gave us a clean break because at that point, at the end of 2018, we weren't offering EMV cards, we weren't offering mobile wallet, all of these things that were coming to the forefront of cards, we didn't have any of it. So it was a time to revamp that stuff anyway. So we made the switch from Visa to MasterCard. And then in the beginning of 2019 is when we flipped on mobile wallet, which what we'll be talking about today is Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and Google Pay. So those are the three big players. And once we started offering that, the first thing that I asked was, all right, where's the data on this? Because I want to see what's going on. I want to be able to track this. I think this is going to be big, especially, you know, it's getting some traction still in its early stages, but once you get further down the road, this is going to be big. And one other thing I'll mention before we dig into the slides is there are two different ways you can go moving forward from a card perspective. Contactless card, which is being pushed quite a bit right now, and also mobile wallet, which is what we're talking about today. So in my mind, I think mobile wallet out of those two is going to be the winner long term, just because more and more things are being done via the mobile device. I mean, people generally can't live without the mobile device now. There's so much going through there. And it's just one less thing that they have to carry if they just get rid of the card completely and go to mobile wallet. So my money is on mobile wallet kind of trumping contactless cards, but both are still pretty early on, and we'll see how it plays out. Merchant adoption is going to be part of that. But another leg up that mobile wallet does have is you can just pay through most apps using that wallet as well. So that's another kind of pushing the card out the door that the mobile wallet is doing in this space. So moving on, we'll take a quick step back from the card stuff, and at Vibrant we try to keep our pulse on what's going on. We know we can get kind of housed in our area and just say, all right, here's what's going on from in Vibrant's world, and here's what's going on with our direct competitors and that kind of thing. But we want to stay ahead of kind of at the edge of things and just say, hey, we're intentionally looking at specific consumer behaviors to make sure that we stay relevant moving forward. So one of those things we did was a national consumer research study back in February of 2019, so about a year ago. But part of that survey was defining the primary financial institution. What does it mean to the consumer? So we said, all right, which of these products that you see on the screen here, checking account, debit card, credit card, mortgage, all of these things, what do you hold at your primary financial institution? And these are the results overall. So the light green bar is what people said they use at their primary financial institution. The grayish green bar is they use elsewhere. And the pink bar is they don't use at all. So you can see use at primary is completely centered around that checking product and the debit card still. You've got the ancillary things like online banking, direct deposit, mobile banking, ATMs, even savings accounts in there. But all of that is funneled around and through the checking account. And then you see on the opposite side, use elsewhere is more prevalent than primary on the rate sensitive products. All the loans, your CDs and IRAs, those people who use those products are more likely to shop around and get a good rate. So nothing earth shattering there. I mean, this is pretty standard and pretty much how it's been for a little while, but just wanted to kind of level set where we're at with that. Now, looking at Gen Z, there's a couple cool things going on with them that haven't been seen in previous generations. Mobile banking for the first time is about 77, 78%. And then online banking is at about 72 or 73%. Gen Z is the first generation where mobile banking is more prevalent than online banking. And that's that's pretty apparent just in society today. But you're gonna see that mobile device be more and more necessary and useful for generations as we move forward. The other thing to note here is Gen Z was the only generation where credit card was higher at primary financial institution than used elsewhere. And it's not much of a gap, but the fact that there's any gap at all was kind of cool. It tells you that you have a good chance of capturing that business versus some of the other generations out there. So moving into the actual mobile wallet data, this first slide you can see starts in January 2019 when we kind of kicked this off. And we didn't really push. We said, hey, this is going to be a part of these new cards that we issued to our members. But we didn't really push on it and say, hey, this is something really cool. You need to sign up for it. Here's a how-to video. We didn't do any of that stuff. So adoption was kind of slow in January and February. And then it ticked up a little bit in March and then kind of leveled off until about September. You can see in the stacked bar here what concentration of transactions were made up of Apple, the green bar, Samsung, the gray bar, and then Google, the pink bar. And Apple is just dominating. They're about 80%, 80 to 85% of the mobile wallet transactions currently going through our members. Now, they may have more overall transactions, but their users aren't using it as frequently as Samsung and Google Wallet or Google Pay folks are. You can see here Apple ramped up and then in March kind of leveled off. So right around the 11 transactions per month through the mobile wallet for Apple users. And then Google and Samsung are both above that. Samsung's even a little higher than Google. They're on average probably like 14 to 15. So definitely heavier users in the Samsung and Google world. Then we started looking at, all right, we've got these mobile wallet users. How are they our heavy users? What's going on with them? and they are seriously are heavy users. On average, with on the debit side, we have about 33 transactions per month for all of our non-mobile wallet users, and it's 56 for people who use the mobile wallet. Same kind of ratio on the credit side. 19 for mobile wallet users, 8.2 for all other card holders, and just that big difference that you see. And we kind of thought we asked the question. We said, does putting a card in the mobile wallet drive this heavier usage? And because it's so new to Vibrant, because it's so new to our members, we figured it was our early adopters, our really loyal members, our younger members who were adopting this, and it probably wasn't going to be driving heavier usage. It was just those heavy users were the first ones to really gravitate towards it. And that's essentially what we saw. So I'll explain kind of what's going on here. We grabbed the 100 or so, I think it was about 120 folks who first started using their mobile wallet in June of 2019. So that's T equals 0. And we said, all right, let's look back 3 months and let's look forward 3 months and see if there's any difference between them and all other debit card users. And we indexed everything to 100. And the reason we chose that time frame was March to September. If you remember this slide, was kind of that plateau where we didn't see any real movement in terms of transaction volume. And we also hadn't run any promotions or anything like that yet, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So hopping back to this slide real quick. So we baselined everything to March, which was T minus 3, and everything's at 100 there. And then you start seeing the mobile wallet users, how they index to that March month versus how all debit transactions index. So you see a little bit of movement, dropped off in April a little bit, back up to about neutral. Then you get to June when these folks on the green line first started using their mobile wallet, and you see a bit of a jump, 111 index versus about 98 or 99. So I think there may have been some new adoption, like, hey, this cool new thing, I'm going to use it a little more frequently, maybe making some purchases that they otherwise wouldn't have just to try it out. So I think there was maybe some of that newness giving that bump in June. But then you get to July, August, September, and it's pretty much in line with all other debit card users. So to answer the question we had, which we just basically wanted to verify, mobile wallet is not driving these additional card purchases. It's being used right now by our heavier users.
Joe, I had a question for you.
Sure.
You had mentioned that you thought that Samsung and Google transactions were heavier. Could you elaborate more on that? Why did you think that?
Yeah, so I think it comes back to, I mean, it's a little bit of a stereotype, right? But I think it's relevant. Typically, people who are on Android devices are a little more tech savvy overall. You've got probably more engineers, probably more computer science guys and gals who are using Samsung and Google devices versus Apple. So I think they just try naturally to use that as much as they possibly can. Whereas Apple users, they'll use it when they can, they'll use it in the app and stuff like that. But it's not an essential thing. It's not they don't get as much of a this is the way I want to do everything vibe, right? It's more of a convenience for them. Whereas for Google and Samsung users, it might be more of a lifestyle, or like, this is really cool. This is what I want to do for payments, that kind of thing. That's just my 2 cents of what I think is going on there. But you know, there's something happening because there's a pretty stark difference.
Sure, you're right. The mobile wallet offers more. A credit or debit card still has to be taken out of the wallet. So what will it take to push merchants to get on board? As the card brings friction.
Um, that's a good question. I think it's going to take people going to their shop and saying, I don't have a card. I can't pay for this. All I have is my mobile wallet. There was a guy, I can't remember what company it was from, but he lived in a heavy metro area like Atlanta or Chicago, and he was saying, if I can't pay for it with my Apple Watch, I don't I don't want to shop there. I mean, so that's the extreme end. But yeah, I mean, at some point you're going to lose business, right? Because people don't see you as having it's not even having the latest gadgets, but just being savvy enough to have those payment options for them. And that's another topic that I don't really get into here, but happy to have a conversation about is the fight for top of wallet, right? You always hear about being top of wallet. Being top of wallet is the key. You want to be top of wallet. If you're not top of wallet, you're only getting 10% of the transactions or whatever it is. I personally believe that it's going to be even harder to become top of wallet in an in an Apple Pay or Google Pay or a Samsung Pay, because I can just pick this up. And when I open my wallet, so I'll back up. When I open my wallet, I know where all my cards are, right? So I can pick out whichever one. I've already opened the wallet, had to do that regardless, and I can just pick whatever card I want to use. Now, the majority of the time, I'm going to use that one specific card that is my primary card. But when you get to the mobile wallet, you can just, you hold this up, double tap twice, pick the card. But if you want to pick another card, it's an additional 2 taps. So it gets a little more, and you don't even really see them. They're crammed down at the bottom. So I think being that top of wallet card is going to be a real challenge and become even more important with the Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, all of those wallets.
Okay, thank you. I'll let you continue.
Sure. Thank you for the question. So moving forward, we also took a look at average transaction cost in the mobile wallet versus all other transactions. And you can see a pretty big difference here as well. That $18 to $19 range is where mobile wallet transactions come in on both the debit and the credit side. And then debit on average is about 35 overall, and then 58 overall for credit when you're talking about the non-mobile wallet transactions. So pretty big difference, and this speaks to part of your question about merchant acceptance, right? Like this, and we'll get into that shortly, but this is not, those type of payment methods are not offered everywhere. But it's also, like I say in the header here, I think it's also a level of member comfort, especially for the older millennials, which is the generation I fall in, and folks beyond that. There's a certain level of comfort that I get, and I know that some of my peers get from booking a hotel or booking a flight on your laptop versus doing all of that via your phone. We know you can do it via your phone, and we know that the payment's tied in there and you can do it pretty easily, but there's still a comfort level of, at least for me, just seeing everything laid out on a bigger screen, knowing my options, being able to click through tabs a little easier, especially when booking those vacations and travel for work and all that kind of stuff, which are typically your higher ticket price items anyway. So I think that's part of the difference as well, having to do with that comfort level on the mobile device. So drilling down into the transaction cost and that merchant acceptance a little bit more, we'll take a look. So this is just a snapshot from December of 2019 for our credit cards only. Debit lines up pretty close, but we're just looking at credit card. Credit card is much easier for us to categorize. into these spend categories. It takes a little more effort with debit. So just for simplicity's sake, I just grab credit card. So these 10 categories on the left here are the top 10 spend categories for mobile wallet, and they make up 88% of all mobile wallet transactions. Huge percentage. Pretty much everything is going to fall into these 10 categories, whereas it only makes up 53% of transactions for all other credit cards, or all other credit card transactions. So pretty big difference there, but also the spend difference comes into play. And you can, I won't get into all of these, but you can pick out a few that are pretty apparent. I think I talked about gas stations last time. The average spend on using the mobile wallet at a gas station is $10 versus $25 for all other credit card transactions. And I think part of that is I haven't run into it, at least. I don't think any gas stations are currently taking mobile wallet at the pump. So any mobile wallet transaction at a gas station is probably inside picking up drinks or food or whatever it is, whereas all other ones are probably 95% at the pump. You look at a few of these other ones. Let's take a look at travel other real quick, because that goes back to what I talked about with the being a little more comfortable on a laptop. This travel other category also includes Uber and Lyft and those kind of things. So those are going to be cheaper transactions, whereas the all other or travel other for just a regular card transaction is going to include Expedia, any of those travel websites like that. So big difference there. And then you see some other differences like movie theaters. I had a joke prepared for the difference between these two, and I told it to my wife, and she said, "That's not funny. Don't tell that joke." So I'll spare you. But yeah, I mean, big difference there too. And then you look at digital goods, basically half the price or half the cost on mobile wallet versus all credit card transactions. So through September-ish, we said, okay, we've got a pretty good baseline of what's going on. We feel pretty comfortable with the data, what it's telling us, who's using it, and that's one thing I didn't touch on, but pretty apparently, and we looked at the data, but pretty obviously the younger folks are the ones adopting mobile wallet. So the average age of debit or credit mobile wallet user is between 30 and 33, whereas all other card transaction folks, average age is like 45, 46. So huge difference there as well. So we had a good sense of who was using mobile wallet, and we said, all right, since we offer this, since it's out there, since it's kind of it's not table stakes by any stretch of the imagination, but we want to be ahead of the game on this. Let's start trying to push and see if we can move the needle on adoption at all. So in 2019, I won't play the video for you here, but our chief experience officer at the time, Steve Ducey, put together a video of how to load the Vibrant debit card and credit card into your mobile wallet, how to use it. I mean, just took people through very basic steps, like, hey, this is how easy it is. And once it's in there, guess what? Like, all you have to do is tap. You don't have to dig around for your card. You don't have to type in your PIN. I mean, it's thumbprint, tap it, you're good to go. So around that how-to video, we rolled out this promotion and we said, okay, anyone who uses their mobile wallet, their Vibrant credit card or debit card in their mobile wallet 3 or more times in the month of October is entered to win an iPhone. So we got pretty good traction on that, and I'll go through the results here in a little bit. but that was our first push, and we said, okay, so it cost us like $1,000, whatever an iPhone cost at the time, um, about $1,000, and we got really good lift in terms of number of transactions, all this stuff, for pretty low cost. So we did a second promotion, and this one wasn't specifically geared around mobile wallet. This was specifically geared around credit card though. So in the month of December, we said anytime you use your Vibrant credit card, you'll be entered to win $5,000. If you use your mobile wallet, your Vibrant credit card and your mobile wallet, you'll be entered twice. So that was kind of, it wasn't specifically mobile wallet driven promotion, but there was that piece of it. So based on those two promotions, we'll start with debit card, kind of the lift that we saw. And so the gray bar, just real quick, the gray bar is the number of unique cards that we had use our Vibrant debit card each month. And then the yellow bar is the number of transactions. And you can see them both tick up pretty good. And September to October, we saw a significant jump. That's which is, again, when we ran that promo. So from March to September, we saw an average of 8% growth month over month for number of unique cards. That jumped up to 25% from September to October and has continued to go up since then. And the interesting thing about this is, you know that November and December are huge transaction months anyways. You would expect it to be a little higher then, but debit and credit volume drops off significantly once you hit January. People are getting their bills. They're saying, hey, we need to cut back on spending. It's the new year. They're trying to be a little more fiscally responsible. A lot of stuff going on that pushes the number of transactions down. But the number of people who adopted our mobile wallet continued to go up. And the number of transactions in the mobile wallet also continued to go up. And we didn't run any promotions in those 2 months. So that was really encouraging to see. Looking at the number of transactions, again, 5% month over month average from March to September for growth. That went up by 47% from September to October, and it's continued to grow since then. So that's the debit side.
Yeah, Joe, I
Sure.
have a question.
Yeah.
And my question is around the chart that you showed earlier. So in that chart, you were showing the spend where sometimes it is one half of what you would when you, for example, versus spending on your digital wallet.
Mhm.
But the comment I would like to make here is that this is actually easier for all three parties, the consumer, the merchant, and the issuer, in this case, Vibrant Credit Union, if the user uses that mobile card.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the friction goes down to practically zero. I mean, outside of travel costs, and sometimes that doesn't even come into play. But yeah, I mean, the friction is zero with your card in the mobile wallet in a lot of cases. When our VP of marketing was just talking this morning about how he, I forget what he was doing. He was shopping for something on his phone, and he said, "Thank goodness I have my card in my phone, because otherwise I would have had to go up upstairs and get it out of my wallet." It's like, in the grand scheme of things, that's like a 20-second inconvenience, and maybe you get a little exercise going upstairs. But that would probably, he may not have made that purchase if he didn't have his card in that mobile wallet.
Thank you.
All right, so let's hop back here. We got through debit, and then we'll look at credit. So credit is interesting. We haven't gotten as much traction on the credit side. We've seen successes with the promotions from September to October, and then from November to December. Pretty low base size in terms of number of credit cards that are actually using mobile wallet. I'm not sure exactly why that is. So for context, we have about 35,000 debit cards out there, and probably 13 to 15,000 credit cards. So a little less than half, maybe about 40%. But you can see here on the chart, we've got, we're in the range of like 1,200 credit card transactions, whereas debit card was over 10 times that. So there's definitely an adoption difference between debit and credit card in the mobile wallet, at least from our perspective. And that may be our value proposition on the credit cards that we offer. Whatever the case may be, we see a big difference in terms of credit versus debit adoption. That may be because the average transaction amount of a mobile wallet transaction is much more in line with debit than it is with credit. Credit typically is those higher ticket items. It could be because of the tokenization, the added security that mobile wallet brings. People feel that, hey, it's this added level of security on my money, so I feel a little more okay with providing my debit card as opposed to my credit card. I don't know. I don't have any data around that, but that's just kind of what we see. So looking on the credit side, we saw about 9% average month-over-month growth from March to September, and then 20% from September to October. So still pretty good growth. Definitely had a bump from the promo, so no issues there. And these are unique card numbers again, sorry. And then from October to December, we saw another 28% boost between promotion 1 and promotion 2. And then you see it kind of level off and then even tick down a little bit in February. And I talk about the drop in transactions. That drop in number of cards using mobile wallet is not as great as the number of people who just don't use their credit card in those months. So definitely less bleed off there than you would expect overall. And then on transactions, 6%, 37% first promo, and then 14% second promo. Here's what I'm talking about in terms of penetration. Credit is the yellow line and debit is the gray line here. So we've seen steady growth on debit, and then we see pretty big jump there in terms of, oh, and sorry, let me back up. These are percentages of active card members using the mobile wallet. So if we have 25,000 cards, of those 35,000 debit cards using their debit card at least once in the month, then this is the percentage of those cards that were using their mobile wallet at least once in that month. So again, steady increase for debit. We're up to 6.3% of all debit cards are using their mobile wallet, which I think is outstanding for how early in the game we are and how new this service is, and taking everything into consideration. I think that is very, very solid. On the credit side, you can see we're ticking up still, but it's much slower rate and much lower adoption overall. As of February, we were only at 1.4%. So one other data piece that I'll kind of bring in here. We had we do 2 member surveys per year, one typically in June and one in December. And the one in December, we included some questions around mobile wallet. And the first one, this pie chart here, was just, hey, Vibrant, are you aware that Vibrant offers mobile wallet, i.e. Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay? Excuse me. We had really high awareness. 60% overall from our members said, yeah, they knew that we had it. That awareness was about 78, 79% for Gen Z. So pretty much all our Gen Z folks had some idea that we were offering it. And all the other generations were between 55 and 60% roughly. And then if you look at the chart on the right, we said, okay, if you're aware that we offer it, do you use it? So do you use your Vibrant debit card? Do you use another debit card? Do you use a Vibrant credit card? Do you use another credit card? And you can see 9.2% survey data. You're going to have a little variation. 9.2% said they are using debit. I saw on the previous slide that we're at about 6.3%. But we have a pretty good advantage over any other debit card from our members' perspective. On the credit side, we're lagging a little bit behind other credit cards. We're at 3.7%. They said 5.8% of folks said that they have another credit card in their mobile wallet.
I just wanted to make a quick comment.
Sure.
A mobile wallet for debit is safer than cash and faster than a card. Less friction. That's a good point that you made earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it's and thank you for that lead into the next slide. This is one of the other questions we said. So we said, okay, you use it. Why do you use it? And we left it open-ended, and we categorized, we coded all the responses. And this is my weak attempt at a word cloud, but yeah, I mean, everything came back to ease of use, convenience, security. Those are the top three. But a lot of people talked about being quick and fast and speedy, not needing their wallet. I mean, all of these things are factors in people adopting and loving the mobile wallet. So the one last thing I'll bring in from our member survey data, we've been tracking Net Promoter Score. It's a pretty good measure from our perspective, just because we can compare ourselves to others in the industry. It's that kind of de facto measure of how you're performing with your members. So we overall we're at like a 47 or 48. But because we had this cut of the data of people who were not using their mobile wallet versus people who are using their mobile wallet, we said, all right, let's check out the Net Promoter Score between the two groups. And people not using their mobile wallet, 46. People who are using their mobile wallet, 61. So much more engaged, as we saw in the data, much better viewpoint of Vibrant overall, much more likely to recommend us to their friends and family. I'm not saying the mobile wallet is causing this difference, but it's interesting that there is such a stark difference between the two groups. So what are we doing now? So we ran those promos at the end of the last year. We had a couple other initiatives that took priority the first part of this year. Then COVID-19 came and just blew up all of our worlds. And once we're getting refocused on this, we're trying to keep messaging and our rhetoric around the digital services that we offer, mobile wallet being one of them. We're trying to keep those relevant and say, hey, we know you can't come into the branch as much as you have. We've got all these different avenues for you to access your money, access your information, use your cards. We're just trying to be as accessible as we can be in the environment we're in today. So once we do kind of get our footing and get a new plan of attack on what's going on here, this is kind of what we're going to do. And it's pretty standard, but make mobile wallet sign up part of onboarding. We're revamping our onboarding process pretty significantly. Sandeep, you and I were talking about the different things that we're offering, from a online account origination, being able to call our personal bankers on your mobile device and open an account that way. So just making sure that mobile wallet is part of whatever process they go through. Say, hey, we offer this. This is how to do it. Simple, easy, secure. You should do it. Then if you look at leveraging our heavy users as advocates, we saw that everybody who's using mobile wallet so far has a deep, at the very least, deep spend relationship with us, and are probably pretty good people to have advocate for us. So figuring out a way to leverage them and make it worth their while, and also increase the usage of mobile wallet. And then figure out some promotions that fit with our overall strategy. So we've had a bunch of changes, a bunch of different things that we've been focusing on. And the promotions that we ran last year, they worked well, but they were kind of one-offs. They were just like, hey, this is something that we want to try. It wasn't trying to drive the entire idea and the entirety of what we offer at Vibrant. It was more, here's mobile wallet, here's what you need to do to qualify for this, and it's all focused on mobile wallet. So just trying to figure out how we create more of those that fit in with our overall strategy. And then the last part is just continue to create awareness. We're doing this via social media, emails, just having our frontline staff talk about it with folks. So you know, try to keep it front of mind, but it's tough to do when there are so many things that are front of mind right now. But just making sure it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I did jot down a few questions, if I may ask those right now.
Absolutely.
So how specifically are you onboarding your members to the digital wallet, your branch online combination? Can you please speak to that?
Yeah, so we don't have it all laid out in terms of what that process is going to look like, but our frontline staff, when we were running the promos, they obviously had to know about it, know what's going on, that kind of thing. We just wanted to make sure that they were aware at that point. But moving forward, we want to make sure that they're not only aware, but they know how to use it. They know the advantages. They know who they should be talking to about this, right? Somebody who comes in and does strictly cash, has never wanted a card. I mean, you're not going to waste your time and talk to them about mobile wallet, but somebody who comes in and they deposit a check or whatever, and you look at their transaction history and you see that they use their card often, you say, hey, have you considered loading our card into your mobile wallet? It's real easy, it's secure, and just giving them the tools to have those conversations with our members in a kind of uniform and consistent fashion is going to be important from the frontline staff perspective. Like I said, we haven't really fully vetted how that's going to look from people who are opening accounts online, that kind of thing. It'll be included in kind of their welcome letter, welcome emails. But if we're trying to specifically get them to do that and walk through it, it needs to be a bigger part. But it's not right now, but it will be.
Okay, and if I may ask, how comfortable is your team when it comes to using the mobile wallet?
I think my team in terms of everybody at Vibrant, or yeah. So I would say that we're mediocre. The people who use it, like I use it, I can speak to it pretty well. Other frontline staff, other people in our corporate center who utilize it can absolutely speak to it. The people who don't utilize it at this moment have a little more trouble. And that's where we need to get the education and the script and the conversation tools to them to make sure that they're talking about it appropriately and correctly. So I would give us, I mean, scale of 1 to 10, we're probably at like a 5 or a 6 right now. We've definitely got some room to improve, but we've got some people who really know their stuff too, and know that this is a huge benefit for anyone who takes advantage of it.
Okay, and could you summarize the definition of a PFI for Gen Z?
Sure. So yeah, let's hop back to that slide real quick. Um, let's see. So primary financial institution, there are a lot of different ways you can define it and talk about it. But we, in the survey that we did, we kind of left it up to the respondent. We said, you tell us what you use at your primary financial institution. So even for Gen Z, it is solely focused on that checking account, right? Like this, so they're at about 78%. Overall, it was at like 88%. So they're a little lagging there, but they're still young, right? Gen Z is 22 and younger. A lot of them may not even have checking accounts yet. So, but the fact that it's still centered around that, you look at like a Time or any of those online banks, that's still a checking account, right? Everything flows through there, direct deposit. You utilize online and mobile banking to access it. You use your debit card. I mean, the checking account is the primary for Gen Z, without a doubt in my mind. That could easily change. I mean, there are a million disruptors out there, and if somebody comes up with a better way to do it, the checking account could be in trouble. But as of right now, I don't see that happening for a while.
Okay, and speaking of the other generations, the older generations, how comfortable are they with adoptions through incentives? Could you speak on that, please?
Yeah, they're you see people who, if you're gonna do a giveaway, if they do certain things, they're gonna do it and then they're gonna be done with it, right? I didn't speak to those numbers specifically, but the people who came on board in those months that we did the promotions, we had about a 75 to 80% retention rate. And when I talk about retention rate, I mean that they continued to use mobile wallet the following month, which I would consider those numbers pretty good. It's tough getting them, especially if you're talking specifically mobile wallet, because I think for some of the older generations, they have like, here's online banking on the continuum, here's mobile banking, here's whatever P2P, and then mobile wallets over here, right? Like getting them to jump from online banking to mobile wallet is going to be a huge jump for them. If you can move them from online banking to mobile banking, that's a good step. And then you kind of progress from there. So jumping on the brand new, something that we've only offered a year, has only been really relevant in the marketplace for maybe 2 years. It's tough to get them to adopt that kind of stuff. Once it becomes more prevalent, I mean, you see, I imagine, I haven't seen industry data, but I would imagine the adoption rate of mobile banking or even online banking for older generations has gone up in the past month, right? Just considering the environment we're in. They can still call, they can still go through the drive-through for a lot of things, but the world that we live in now has forced a lot of people's hands in terms of those adopting those services that they previously didn't for whatever reason. So I would love to see some statistics around that. I just haven't seen the numbers yet.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. And when we met last year, you spoke about pushing up credit card usage, now digital payments, and we both agreed debit makes it a perfect trifecta. Why are payments so strategic to Vibrant?
Well, from my perspective, and our CEO would agree. I mean, he's very heavy into data as well, and just sees it as a driver. And when you look at the interactions that people have with you as a financial institution, you're through the payment vehicles, you're having those interactions with people multiple times a day, at least several times a week for the most part. If you have people who just have a mortgage, or just have an auto loan with you. They're maybe interacting with you once a month. If that, if they have an auto payment going, they may not interact with you at all. So I think one huge advantage of being focused on payments and having the penetration that we do within our member base, we have, I think it's like 72% of our members have a checking account with us. 75% of those checking accounts are active debit card users. On the credit side, we have, I think it's about 60 to 65% of our credit cards are active cards, meaning they've used it at least once in the past month. So just being able to have that constant interaction with your members, having that, building that trust, building that brand, building that awareness. We've got some pretty slick looking cards. I mean, whenever people pull that out of their wallet, it's free advertising too, right? I mean, there are a lot of huge things that you can benefit from being a payments focused institution. All of that awesome stuff aside, the revenue. I mean, the interchange that you get from the credit card side, the balance transfer fee, balance transfers, having those additional balances on the credit cards from an interest income. I mentioned interchange, and just the revenue that you can generate through payments is also huge.
Thank you so much, Joe. We both use the mobile wallet because it's easy, safe, and we earn incentives. We really appreciate your insight, and we will look forward to connecting again soon.
Awesome. Thank you for talking with me today, guys. I really appreciate it and look forward to doing it again.
Thank you, Joe.
All right.
Joe, thank you so much for what you shared with us. What is really interesting to me is that when you talk about mobile adoption, you're talking about the adoption of 6.5% of those you serve and the impact that can make. Imagine the impact if we can get even more people to adopt digital as a means to pay. Why do we have to go through the friction of taking out our wallet, taking out our card from the wallet to transact? Why can we not train our staff to interact with those we serve to boost the adoption of mobile so we can do more? We can do more for the consumer we serve, and we can also provide a better and more effective service environment. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to your feedback as well.